Awesome. Starting to see the crowd fill up here. We'll give it a few more minutes to kick off as we're getting set up. Bring up the slides here.
It's like, Scott, would you say we have matching shirts today? I don't know.
we didn't we didn't coordinate this, did we?
Coordinated the blue shirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The old blue shirt gang. That's it.
Actually, I'll
We're all
just
here.
throw a white one on real quick just to throw a little contrast in here. All right, let's pull up these slides. I'm going to do. Okay, awesome.
All right. Give it another minute and then we will get started.
Should have got a soundtrack going here.
That doesn't just happen in Rome. Where's our where's the walk-in music?
We should install one for sure. I know they got some walk-in music. We should have kicked that off.
I always have like a little Sweet Child of Mine or something, or Welcome to the Jungle. You make a little GNR.
GNR.
Yeah, that's my walk-in music. That's what I did at one of our investors LP shows last year. I think I did, yeah, Welcome to the Jungle. That felt like appropriate. I mean, it aged me, obviously. Like, yeah. Half the room was like, who's that? You know?
Yeah, exactly. They wanted some Rufus the Soul or something like that.
It's stuff that I couldn't tell you anything about, right? I think I stopped paying attention to music like somewhere in the 2000s. I just have not been on it. Now my kids are giving me the update every once in a while. Although they're starting to listen to the old stuff, which I love.
There you go.
My son's going through his Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin phase, his 70s rock phase. That was right before his rap phase. And I don't know, Pearl Jam is next, maybe?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's cool. There's so much content. It's insane. There's an ever running list of music and TV and movies now that, that just exists for a young person.
Yep.
50 years of music and cinema that are just there,
And only going to be easier. I mean, I think that's kind of what we're going through today is how do we make it easier for people to create essentially take the things that they're planning and creating with all the different, let's say, tools that are coming out there in AI today, and how do we execute on these things? So if you're good, I think we go ahead and kick this thing off.
I think we do. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for coming. Welcome. We're hoping today you're going to get a lot out of this session. Scott and I, specifically Scott, put a lot of energy into putting together the most realistic live build you've ever seen. It's so real that he's actually building it right in front of you. So it is a bit of a high wire act. And of course, demoing anything or showing anything AI is a high wire act because we never know when one of the providers might go down. So hopefully that doesn't happen, knock on wood, but you never know. I can tell you on a regular basis, Anthropic goes down during my demos probably once a day. So hopefully that won't happen here, but we love Anthropic. We love Claude. We're big fans of Cowork. But the goal here today really is to show you a live build. It's all about workflows now. It's not about software anymore. It's not about tools. It's about workflows. It's about let's create optimized workflows to allow you to do your job better. And so in order to do that, we want to show how AI can be a part of that, what it looks like. Everyone says, oh, just use AI. I always love that phrase, oh, just use AI. It's not just use AI. It is really about organizing, orchestrating, creating these workflows that streamline those parts of your job, taking out all of the grind, all of the busy work, right? All of the pain, just taking the things off your plate that you hate doing. Ultimately, I think that's really where AI is shining right now. And so that is our goal today, to show you a full cycle campaign from start to finish, what it looks like from conception to getting it out the door to measuring it at the end. That's the full cycle. That's our life. That's our lives as marketers. So we're gonna show that today. So we're really excited. All right, let's next slide.
Awesome.
So I'll introduce myself, Mark Ferrantino. I'm the CEO and founder of Quotient. For those of you who don't know me, my background, I am a 30-year veteran of the software space. Started out my career as an engineering leader at such places as Salesforce.com, where I was their chief architect for many years. I took a change in my career. I started moving into sort of more the CEO role, more sales and marketing. And so over the last 15 years of my career, I have been focused on sales and marketing. For those 15 years, I've had marketing either reported to me, or I was running the marketing team, or I was the CMO. So I've got lots of years of experience running marketing teams, and I've got that dang-fangled engineering mind also sitting back there. So marketing to me is always a process as much as it is anything else. And I think we're going to talk. I think AI has just really accentuated that reality. So I'm excited. All right, Scott, why don't you introduce yourself?
Awesome. Scott Murtaugh, founder of Growth Process Automation, focus on startups and scale ups with go to market strategies and AI implementation services. Um, Backgrounds 15 plus years in B2B tech, primarily like data. And in those roles was partnerships, marketing, as well as product. For the past 3 years, my focus is primarily AI and those implementations of those workflows and kind of doing AI builds as well. So that's what we're here to do today, which will kick off. And so I'll let Mark kind of set the stage on what he's seeing there from with AI and marketers, and right before we get to this build.
Yep. All right. So we're not going to take too long on slides. You hate slides. We want to get into the actual build. So I just want to do kind of a level setting of what I'm seeing right now, and then we'll talk about this is all important, I think, leading into what we're going to do today. This is my take on sort of where AI is right now. This is the unfiltered, the Twitter version here. What we call reality. Is really where people are right now. So I think a lot of folks that I talk to marketers every day, and I've been talking to marketers for the last few years as we've been, building out Quotient. So I feel like I have a very valid point of view here, or a good sampling of people that I've talked to. Everyone is saying they're using AI. They are using AI at some level or another. Most of what I'm seeing right now out there is folks who are just getting used to using it. There's their beginning phase. They're using it to help write, to help draft, right, as a writing partner, and that's an excellent use case for AI. It's just the beginning. The other version I see, and this is really coming more from the vendors. There's a handful of vendors out there who are using AI. It's just an SEO, AEO slop factory. I think whenever I see a grid in a product. In a product interface, I'm like, well, and then they talk about AI and content. I'm, ooh, that's not. We don't create content in grids. Content is crafted. It should be thoughtful and it should be valuable. That's actually how you make content very thoughtful. The AI CMO, which I think is a scare tactic that I see all over X all day. It is the biggest bunch of nonsense I've ever seen. I just want to tell everyone, if you're afraid of AI, don't be. It is AI is a terrible marketer. They're awful. It is an awful marketer. It writes cringeworthy stuff for the most part. It really is your thoughts, your ideas, your energy that is what makes the content, it makes the output good. It's not just sort of let me blindly ask the AI to create things for me. I've just never seen that work. The only proven use case that I've seen really right now of AI that I think everyone should be doubling and tripling down on is really around operations. Make marketing operations as smooth as possible. Remove that busy work. Allow yourself to look like a team of 10. If you're a single lone marketer, which many people are, many organizations don't have giant marketing teams. I always comment to Scott how in our wonderful software industry we have a lot of times we have these huge marketing teams, but I've talked to billion-dollar companies that only have one or two marketers. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. So there's many large organizations that don't actually have huge marketing teams. So being effective, being operationally sound is important. And so that is really where I've seen the biggest use case. Image models, video models, they're getting better. They're almost there. But they're not quite there. That is going to be another level of breakthrough, I think, in operational efficiency. And let me just repeat this again. All the energy, all the differentiation marketing that's happening right now, it's coming from you. It's the positioning, it's the messaging, it's understanding the zeitgeist, it's taking those things that, it's understanding the content strategy, the content plan itself. It is not coming from just AI, more AI. It is coming from you. And so the idea is we want to allow for marketers to focus more on that and less on just sort of simply getting things out. That's what this workshop is all about. Focus less on, like, make the process of getting things out the door easier, and allow you to focus on the things that actually generate the alpha, generate the differentiation. One of the concepts that I saw over many years was that typically, more than half of a marketer's time is spent, call it time not spent marketing. It's spent on the mundane, the tedious, the low value. And this is what we're going to talk about today. This is what I'm most excited about to show everybody is just what can we how can we unleash this other half of your day, of your week, of your month, by sort of allowing AI to kind of help out being at the operational level. So let's get to the next one. And so, I think this is just really reiterating the same thing I just said. Just, we don't have a writing problem. Content's everywhere. Content is commoditized in many ways. The ability to manufacture content. So, a lot of differentiation really comes in the operations, and of course in the strategy, the thought process, the ideas. Use your words, use your ideas to get them out there. The AI is just a teammate. It's just a thought partner. It's just an operations layer for you. And if that's how you're operating at a very high level. So that's what we're hopefully going to show for today, what it looks like to operate at a high level using an incredible tool like Cowork. If anyone's used it, it's pretty awesome. I'm sure no one's using it to its fullest. That's what Scott's going to show today. I have used a lot of these different tools. I've used Cowork. I've used OpenClaw. I've used all these things. I am currently in my Cowork phase right now that I'm going through, so I'm using it quite a bit, and I'm just very excited about it. So, all right, let's enough talking. Let's get to the good stuff here.
Yeah, awesome. So while everyone's here, goal for everyone to walk away with here is let's make sure that your Claude set up to know who you are and like what your business does, not just something from the internet. We're going to build one campaign brief along with all the assets that go along with that. So registration page, the campaign itself, like the documentation, the activation, the days and times and everything that goes along with that. We're going to get into the emails, some posts, all real stuff. And then we're going to have a skills pack. It's 15 different skills that we're going to go through. We're going to use a number of them that you can use for building and running your own campaigns. We'll send those out afterwards. We're also going to provide them here if you want to kind of like ride along and do it yourself as we're doing this. One thing we think about, or a pattern that we see is like this loop that essentially, probably everyone's heard about loops as well. Is like how do we go step by step and kind of like take what we've learned from running a process and then like put that back into that plan and run this loop. So, Mark, I think you want to chat a little bit about.
Yeah, I think when I think of marketing, maybe I don't think this is the engineer in me. I think this is just any person who's been marketing for a while. There's a loop that we repeat over and over and over again, and it is the process of creating a campaign, whether it be an evergreen campaign, a temporal campaign, even in some cases, I like to call random acts of marketing, which is of course when the CEO has a great idea and he wants to get it out tomorrow. I've definitely never done that. The core cycle of marketing is always planning, right? Which is obviously the process of going through planning your calendar, planning a campaign itself, creating the actual manufacturing of that piece of content, that asset, that deliverable. That would be putting together the email, putting together the post, making sure the images look good and sort of making it look right. Then there's the actual execution of it, which is getting it out the door. So when we say execution, some people call it production, some people call it shipping. I've heard a lot of different ways that people have described this thing. It's just the act of getting it out the door. This is one of the most, I'd say, of all the areas, this is one of the most underappreciated areas of this cycle, of this marketing life cycle, because it actually takes way more energy than everyone thinks, and it's really death by a thousand cuts. It's just a bunch of little things you have to do that, when individually, none of them seem very, very hard or very difficult or very much, but when you add them all together, now takes you 2 days to get a campaign out, to get it actually out the door and get it executed into the world, and then of course measure. Right. This is a part that I think we all wish we were better at. We need to make it easier. And I think we're going to show you today how we can make it easier. You want to be able to be data driven. You want to be able to have insight into what you're doing. It's not just that you're throwing content over the wall and into the ether and hoping that people come and they read it. Right. You want to see what's going on, what's working, what's not. And I think this is where this flow that we're going to show you today, AI specifically, is going to make this part of the equation of making the informed decision better and better. So we want to make sure that we're measuring, and measuring also just takes a lot of energy. I mean, just UTM tagging alone, people have heard me talk about that when I've spoke to before. It's just people screw it up all the time. It's error prone and it's just hard. And it's you always want it to be at a certain level of granularity to really get the extracted data out of it. So these 4 cycles is what Scott's going to show today inside of Cowork, which is pretty cool. It's kind of how do you run this cycle over and over and over again And I hopefully think this will be of value to everyone that's on the call right now.
All right, awesome. So we're going to start diving in now. Just so everyone knows, when we're talking about, Mark's already mentioned co-work a couple times now. We are talking about having a paid Claude plan and using Claude desktop. This is not in the browser. So just to be clear, I come across this in a lot of the workshops and stuff that I run. A lot of people are still operating the browser. We need to get out of the browser. We need to go download the desktop app. And the main reason why is that the desktop app allows you to create and read files from your computer. And like that's kind of there's a big unlock around that because we want a place for Claude to be able to save things, but we also want a place for Claude to be able to read and get all that context so that it doesn't sound like, generic like AI slop that we were talking about before. So if you haven't set up at least Claude Desktop, that's step one. Like get on, download it, log in, and we'll go from there. Three things you're going to hear about today, and we're going to go through these things in the context of going through them. I'm going to try to get out of the slides here right after this. Is projects. We're going to be working from a project. We're going to be installing some skills, running through those skills, and then we're going to be using connectors. Connectors essentially allow us to connect to tools to be able to go take those actions, the execute piece that we're talking about here, so that we can go, actually see emails on how they might look or send social posts and schedule things. So these are three core concepts that aren't also just like Claude alone. These are the same things you're going to see within Codex, which maybe we'll do another one specifically around Codex. So I need to essentially take this here. We're going to run this. I'm going to drop this into the chat. I don't know if anyone sees there's a chat little thread in the bottom there. If anyone wants to run along with this is the same link that we'll be getting afterwards. But I'm going to drop this in here. And this is where we're going to start on how to install these skills. Before we install those skills, I'm going to go through what we were just talking about in the setting up a project. Before I do that, can I get some thumbs up or maybe Mark, you can see the we are seeing the my Claude.
I am seeing your co-work environment. Yes.
Cool. Awesome. Perfect. It'd be terrible if we went off for 5 minutes and didn't realize that. So, all right, we're going to start with just we can start right here from like new. We can build a project directly from here. So I'm going to add a folder as part of this. And let's go ahead. I'll do a little vibe coding. We'll do it in coaching, and then we'll just do a new folder. We'll call this, let's just do a call webinar. So what I'm doing is I'm setting up a workspace for Claude to essentially be able to operate from. And as you can see, I'm on cowork here. There is, some people might ask about chat, cowork, and code. Cowork is what's allowing us to essentially create and read these files on our machine. What's the difference between cowork and code? You're working a little bit more in the terminal versus this nice, pretty interface, much better for, let's say, kind of workflows and like say knowledge work, and not really as much as building. So
I was getting the question about what chat and cowork, because you got chat, you got cowork, you got code, right?
Yep.
Chat is what, and cowork is what?
Chat's just like having a conversation, right? And so when doing co-work, and since we're creating files and we're especially if we're doing it within a project, that's like a place for co-work to essentially create and read, and like it's a place for it to like remember things versus like if we're starting a chat, like we're having to go through a chat every time. Chats do provide like a memory aspect, but it's not the same way as being able to like go access a folder within our machine. All right, so I'm pasting this in here. One thing you'll see is this pop-up. This is like saying like, hey, you are allowing cowork to access your machine. I'm going to be able to read, modify, run commands within these folders in this current session. So this is what allows it to essentially run tasks. And in the cloud, you're giving that permission. And so now that came in twice. That should be fine. Um, this is great. Here we go. Server is busy. So here's the downside of trying to do something live. Let me see if I can get our way out of this. Um, let me think through this real fast.
Got a message also from Kip.
Let's see here. I'm going to because these skills aren't here. So what this was going to do was actually going to download these skills. So anyone that's running this, you would essentially it would run through the steps. It would go through the progress bar. I'm going to manually do these, so this is going to be uh, not ideal, but this is the point of doing this thing live. All right. Okay. So what will, Mark, do you mind just let me know if yours gets working on your side and then I'll come back to it. So what essentially I was doing there was essentially giving a link that will allow you to install these like programmatically versus me manually having to do it. So for me to manually have to essentially upload skills, I would come over to customize. And within customize section, you have a skills section and you can add skills directly through here. Claude does come with some that are pre-installed, but we're providing some today where we've essentially pre-built them out specifically around building campaigns, and we will start uploading
We
those.
are. I think we're back, Scott, because I'm able to now have
Okay, cool. That
so
would be helpful.
yeah. Kinda. You don't have to start cursing at it yet. That's coming next.
Oh man.
Hey,
Okay.
Scott, those are some questions in the chat if you want to take a look at it while we're.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. Oh wow, someone posted something really long.
It looks like it's about the skills, just downloading the skills in the domain.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd like, this it's coming from that. I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah, it's just. I think it's referring to your server.
Really? If that's the case, then let me just download these. So I will send the download over afterwards, um, but I will go ahead and manually do these. Let me actually just test um, something real fast. What video is it? That'd be crazy if it's the skill thing. I just ran this before. Like it shouldn't be taking that long on a RE there.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I'm going to manually do this. So thanks everyone for being patient here while we deal with. So I'll pull this over just so people can kind of see. So I have all these essentially these skills already built out here. Um, and I will be pulling these in one by one. So we don't need campaign angle. We're going to be doing campaign brief. So one's loaded there. We're going to be doing copywriting. Oops, I don't want to do that just yet. This is why I built it in a way where everyone could download it very quickly and easily. That where that site's coming from is a hosted page on our end. So the question around is this a safe place? Um, it's it's from us. It's not coming from some unknown source, unless we just met today. All right. Hopefully this buys us some time while Claude fixes.
it's maybe try a different model too.
Yep.
Trip mentioned.
Oh, I gotta download these SOPs. I'll put that in the folder.
So I got a question. What is the skill folder about? What's in there?
Yeah, we'll dive into that. Let me get these over there, and then I will. Mark, if you want to take that while I'm kind of manually doing this, give me a second here, and I'll be done.
Yeah, that's so yeah. So many of these skills that we're talking about, are they're you can still make progress even if you don't have them. They're really just they're helpers. They're things to just kind of make things a little easier. So some instruction on how to create certain assets, instructions on how to organize your ICP, organize your your messaging behind the scenes, right? Giving you styles around how to write copy, things of that nature. So these are all things that you can build yourself from scratch. And so these are really just these are helpers more than anything else to get
Yeah.
you started.
Yeah. So we'll hopefully things are back here, but an example is around a skill. And I also wanted to touch upon a few things back on project side was like, so like why a skill? Skills like say it's a better, it's not just like a good prompt. A prompt is like a thing that you might run on a request once. A skill's like a procedure, it's an SOP. It's a text file that helps you get a job done, especially one that's like that you're repeating. So without it, like it might be the thing that you have in your head that you run over and over. And in this case, the one we're going to start with, which is marketing skill, is going to help you build a company context file and a marketing file. And that comes back to where we want to get as much context as possible on your business, and to help it provide that like personalized content that it either matches your brand, your marketing voice, and the other thing that it does is you can call it instead of you having like paste in the same prompt every time, we can just run like the marketing setup one. So that's what we're going to do here next, assuming that things are a little overloaded right now. So
Across all models. You might want to try you can try Sonnet too, but it's
yeah, I'll go down a model. So one thing that Mark brought up here is where you can choose which model that you're operating from. Haiku is the cheapest and Fable is the most expensive, depending on what plan that you have. Um, that will determine how many like your usage on each one of these. In order to find usage, you can actually now just call a command that will pull up usage, so you can see like how much you're using on a daily basis. So we'll try seeing here if this will run. One thing that we did was we created this new project, but when we got kicked out of here, the one thing I want to do real fast is essentially provide some instructions here. One thing that's important about a project, I know I went through that pretty quickly, but under the projects, you can pull up the project that you want to be working from. And we want to put in some instructions here. And the instructions, like a prompt is like the workflow that you want to run, but it doesn't always have like uh, let's say like think about this as like guardrails along all the skills that you might run. So like you might want to say, I never want to use M dashes and no emojis. You want to put that in your instructions file because that's going to go into every like chat. And so that's something that you wanted to remember every time. Um, and it says skills download works in Opus if you let Claude drive your Chrome browser. Oh, interesting. I think sounds like someone has their Opus working. So we will save that here. And so this comes in where instructions are. And then we will see if we can run this. So the first prompt that we're going to run here is one that's around like run my marketing setup. So this is going to trigger the marketing setup skill. And yes, I will send over the instructions after the call. So this is in this case we're doing campaign for Quotient or running a webinar campaign. We're going to first have it go through the site, and then it's going to start and draft the marketing context and the company context file that we talked about. And then it has asked me to kind of confirm some information. I'm going to try Opus one more time. Reason why I like using Opus, let's say a little bit bigger brain, more intelligent. You can use Fable if you've got it. Awesome. Looks like we're back.
yeah.
Well, this would have been a little bit more challenging if Claude wasn't working at all. So at least we're out of the gates.
Oh, it comes
And
back. It always comes back.
it always comes back.
Never worry about
So one of the things that's happening right now, which you'll see, is I kind of like reading this stuff. I know it sounds nerdy, but like I like understanding the task that it's going through. So what you're seeing here is it going through its like thinking process and what's essentially end up happening. One thing I want to check is cool. Just make sure we're not connected. Um, and it's going to the website. It's pulling down information, and this is working from. Can you try sharpening ads? And you can see it essentially like pulling in, reading stuff from the site. So this progress bar at the top is essentially it's like its checklist to follow. And as it's doing that, it'll start creating some outputs here that we can then review together. And what will be happening is these will start essentially going into the actual folder that we have this associated with. Actually, we did not get this on the right folder. Could update it real fast. Got really thrown off by the Claude not working there in the beginning.
it.
Cool.
All right. So where are we? We're
It's
Yeah.
still going through here. So what's doing is right now it's drafting the company context. So you can see one of the things that Claude desktop allows is essentially there's like a virtual machine and it can, I mean, Mark, you can speak more to programming languages than I can, but it's essentially running like Python, and it does have the ability to run on your local machine. So as you can see, we have a company context file that just came in, or marketing and company context file. So back to what we were talking about, this is where you want to start with some sort of like base foundational information before you start writing, because it's going to like guess at like who are you, what is your positioning lines, what's your mission, what is your offer, who's involved, your pricing. All this information has essentially been extracted from their site. And then so this gives you like a pretty good base place to start. And then it's going to also ask a few like questions here, which is like, who's this not for? So one thing I like doing, I'm not a great typer. I like using voice. So in this case here, who's this not for? This is not for like large enterprise teams. We're looking to help the overwhelmed teams that have more ideas and not enough time to execute. So like lean marketing teams, fractional CMOs, as well as let's say maybe solo founders. Um, Anything? I don't have any banned words unless you have some, Mark. And then anyone that's going to essentially approve information is going to be Mark that essentially goes out.
With summary here. So I mean, they're looking at it as an overview of skill, right? A markdown file that really represents all the details that Cowork is going to have about your business. So it's going to be company overview, nuances of writing style, brand style, things of that nature, and that's part of the process that we went through here in creating that. It's just important. Otherwise, Cowork is not going to have it. It's gonna have to go out and find it, or it might even make it up. So the more you tell it about your company, about your brand, the better. Now, all of those things I believe are stored inside markdown files inside of the project, right?
Correct. And then someone asked, is this also for agencies? Yes. Like you're doing marketing. You have a marketing team at an agency. So yes, this also fits agencies as well.
Yeah, this is really the core concepts here around projects, skills, and then we'll talk about connectors a little later. These are really the core foundational pieces. There's other pieces, obviously, of Cowork, things like artifacts and schedule things, so we're not going to talk about those today. But those are just sort of, I mean, that might be a 201 session to go into some of those areas. That's where you can create repeatable jobs, like in the form of scheduled jobs. And artifacts are kind of a nice way where when you're hooked into an analytics backend, where you can start to visualize concepts in a really nice way.
Yeah. So what this is doing is adding in some of this like context. And one thing we were just talking about, which someone's asking, like, where's all this stuff going? Um, this is going. This should be going into a file. Just make sure this is being saved in the right location. Just double checking that again. For some reason, it's not going. There we go.
I'm not sure. Matters, but
And one reason why that I'm making sure that it's getting saved to this folder, I think what happened when we kicked off there is it didn't obviously save the project right, is this is just that context that it can continue to pull from. And one of the things that also makes it one of the things that's um, important to, like, how are we editing this stuff if we want to like essentially make changes. You saw me kind of dictate there earlier. That's one way to do it. You can kind of open these things on your local, which is another way, but we'll get into kind of like doing this uh, essentially within an actual tool here in a bit. So let's move to, all right, well, we've got enough information. I would recommend, and just given the timing, and we lost a little here, is I would I would add customer voice to this as well. And the customer voice is important because sometimes, you might describe your product in one way, but like how someone else like kind of translates that is super important. And you can see like the skill says like you kind of have like a low confidence on the voice. That's where you can take, if you've done customer interviews or sales calls or other things where you've had an opportunity to or reviews. If you have people that have reviewed your product, that's like great content. um, that's what I would recommend as adding additional context here, instead of it just pulling stuff from the website. So what we're doing now is essentially asking it to write a campaign brief based off of this core information. What this is for us to run a Claude 102. And the goal is, say we want 100 registrations. The channels that we're focused on are going to be email and LinkedIn. And then I wanted to give me like 3 hook options. So that'll allow me to like, it'll give us a couple options, and then from there we'll select that and then build out a campaign based off of that. And great, you can see that it has the marketing context files. And what you're seeing here is the going step by step here as part of this. And um, that progress bar is just a way for it to like make sure that it stays on task, and gets all the way to like delivering a final project. Um, so we already have a campaign in here. So we're just going to say that this is going to replace what's previously there. And this is this like ask tool, which is like super helpful. And to kind of what it's asking for is it needs more context. And this is where you can either select what is provided or you can provide something in here. All right, we're bringing a campaign we have not run. It's recommending a date. Let's just stick with that wouldn't be today. So yeah, it's actually recommending still not true. Um, just reading this. Just do that for now.
yeah,
Awesome. So that was, we've talked about context before. That's me giving additional context to help the model essentially be able to like work through. Where in the skills, there's questions where if they haven't been answered or if it's unclear, that's where it's asking for more. A question that we have here, this is a good time. In order for coworkers to access skills that we build or vice versa, do those skills need to have a certain setting? No, skills don't have to have a certain setting. So the within the skills themselves, they can have like you can essentially build like what the call to action is. Most of the time, it's the name that will trigger it. And there's another way that you can do it, which is you can call it up. So like the marketing skill itself and do backslash and it'll pull in that skill and then you can like you can then reference that. So in this case, if I didn't want to just like copy and paste this like campaign brief in here, which was the trigger, I have the campaign brief skill right here that I could then trigger that.
I think maybe the question, Scott, is like, is there a way to share a skill across an enterprise account or a company?
For sure. And so sharing a skill, you can come up here and click that and be able to share it with other teammates. If you're the admin managing the account, they have the ability to upload them and then be able to distribute them from there. So if you're on an enterprise account, connect with your admin, and they have the ability to distribute skills from the admin panel. And the same thing goes for connectors, which we'll begin to getting into here shortly.
This is doing a big old build right now, right?
This is actually this is actually building out the brief, which you're starting to see come in here right now. Looks like it came in, it just hasn't populated into here.
Of course, what a brief is, hopefully, as most folks on the call are marketers.
Yep.
Right? It's your plan for your campaign, which typically includes, right, your goals, your audience, messaging, activation, all things that need to be figured out. I'm a big fan of measuring twice, cutting once. So if the brief is good, if it's in good shape, then usually the rest of the campaign works out pretty well. Usually when the deliverables don't come out right or not consistent, it's usually because the brief wasn't read or thought through or maybe iterated on. So, iterating on the brief is going to be a big part of it, and that's usually where I'm spending most of my time in marketing, is just iterating on that brief, especially now with a lot of these systems. If the brief is good, it's almost like it's basically context for the AI. It's instead of having a skill where the skill is sort of the context that's always there, it's always accessible. The brief is giving you, in essence, local context for the purpose of creating the campaign, and it is, in essence, represents sort of the plan that the next phase, the actual creation of the individual items are going to all read from. So
yeah. So we're going to, and there is a build the campaign or skill that's within here. We're going to just jump straight to that, given that we've kind of I'm going to have it pick the recommended hook, just so that
I think we had an iteration in here, Scott, to update the brief, but we're just going to skip that for now.
Yeah. Just knowing that where we are with time, because we want to make sure that we get to showing people, like, we're building all this context within Claude, but we also want to make sure that we get to showing you how we go. Do you actually own the content Claude creates, or are you making his money? Hold some licensing claim over it. No, I'm not aware of. Let's keep it off for right now. Of like Anthropic owning any like licensing your like content over it. I know
that Google Workplace or Google Docs owns anything that you write into it. No, they don't own anything that you produce here. I mean, why would they? They took all the knowledge of mankind, and they took it and they pumped it into the model. So you'd like to think that they can, whatever they generate out of it is the property of the person generating it. So
awesome. So while this is generating, I think I'll kind of jump ahead to because this, like we said, this is a cooking show. Y'all don't want to watch like a cake bake. I'm going to pull up a previous example of where ran through this so that we can kind of see what the brief that was created. While that's running, I can jump back to that. If that sounds good, Mark.
Yeah, I think so. If anyone's seen a cooking show, you don't usually watch the cake bake for 30 minutes. Usually they put the cake in the oven and they pull the finished cake out of another shelf. That's basically what Scott just did here. He pulled, because the build will take how long? Probably like 10 minutes.
It takes at least 5 minutes. And so the reason why here was, and this is, you can see from earlier, running like build the whole campaign brief. It's building a registration page, emails, 12 social posts, Um, and we can go in and essentially kind of like review what that looks like here. So when it's building that, this is the like Claude for Marketing 301. This is the invitation. Here's the second touch. Here's the last call. These are all things that actually the majority of everyone here has experienced as joining this webinar, which was this is that content that was essentially created as like the first pass that we then essentially have iterated on, but it's based off of running those skills. Now, the also like what are the first pass of like the social post? Now, there are probably some questions around like the how much is this is just like Mark talked about the AI like CMO. This is like your judgment is the most important aspect of what goes into this, and this is the place for you to be able to start and have what is the right cadence, all the things that this takes a lot of time to pull together, but it's a lot easier for you to be able to go through and then be able to make tweaks, add your own voice, make sure that it's kind of staying on task there. So we have like a brief as well, and this is that same like brief that's running through who's the audience, what's the messaging. Essentially allows you to create all of that content. And what's really difficult, and this is kind of like that second part of this, is like, great, I have all this content within Claude, but like I don't want to be managing markdown files and making changes to this. Like I want to see how is this going to be actually like represented in a tool that allows me to make iterations to that.
Yeah.
So from a tool perspective, that's where you want to essentially grab a
Yeah,
grab.
I said many of you probably have been at this exact moment. You've maybe worked on an idea inside of Cowork or GPT. You've generated some content, a markdown file of source that may be that thing, and then you're like, okay, great. Now I got to get it out. Now I got to turn this into actual marketing, into actual deliverables, into things that I can send, right? That are shovel ready to go out the door to an audience, right? And that's really this is that closing of the loop here, closing of the cycle that I think is probably where maybe we should have started a little sooner. I guess it's like the piece.
Yeah, I think we lost some time there trying to, that's the part of doing this live. But this is like where, Mark's getting to is on the connector piece and just background connectors. This is allowing you to connect the tools or data sources or services that you have as part of like your day-to-day stack. You can see I have Google Drive and Gmail and Slack and all different types of things that are actually connected within here. And today, the one that we're going to be running through in order to execute on all this is the Quotient connector. And what that allows us to do is to be able to push this content to a place where we can actually execute on it. And I love using this tool because it gives me email, it gives me social, it has memories, it has the ability for me to like see all the tasks and have like what the activation schedule looks like. So we'll dive into that. But where you find this is within going here to connectors. You can add a connector and browse. As you can see, I have a lot of different connectors here. And because we're running through this and that other cake's still baking in the oven, we're just going to kind of like jump into the tool. But the skill that we ran is essentially just published to Quotient. And so what ends up happening there is Claude works with Quotient to then push this content into Quotient to be able to now like review what that campaign looks like. So for the webinar here, and we just moved over and making sure everyone can now see I'm in Chrome, this is essentially like the whole brief that we ran through that we're building that's cooking in Claude right now gets pushed over. So this is also a place where we can come in here and still make those edits at any point in time, right? If we wanted to say this is going to go out on the 19th, we can change those things. Also, where the tasks as essentially have kind of like come in that are running. What does the activation look like? And the deliverables. And Go
So
ahead, Mark.
I want to bring it back to the loop for a second. So earlier we talked about the four stages of the marketing lifecycle for a campaign: plan, create, execute, and measure. We've now did our planning, we did our creation inside of Cowork. You got to execute it somewhere, right? So whether it's, I mean, obviously I represent Quotient, so you know where I think it should be executed. But in theory, just you could execute it in a different platform. You could send it through a different platform. That's fine. I'm not going to say that you can't. But just simply that it needs to go somewhere. Cowork is not going to send your email. It's not going to post. It's not going to do a lot of these things for you. It's not going to track it. It's not going to make sure that everything's tagged. It's just not. That's not the nature of what this is. I mean, Cowork is really supposed to be that platform that helps you iterate, and it's that like iterate and work on things together, come up with the concepts, and then even give you a first draft potentially, right? But then eventually you need some place. Okay, what does it look like right before it goes out the door, right? What is the actual thing? Let's put it all together. Let's make sure all the links are QA'd. Let's make sure all the tags are right. Let's make sure all the images are in the right place. Make sure all the HTML is in the right place. All those concepts have to happen somewhere, right? And they typically are not going to happen I mean, that's not really what Cowork is made for. Even if you're using Claude Design, which is a whole other amazing tool that we're going to do a webinar on, that you get a little further where you get some of the HTML done. But then is it email HTML? Does it have all the tags? Does it have all the links? Does it have everything? Is the audience assigned? Do we have the subject? Do we have the reply tos? So there's a million things as marketers you all know that you need to do and check. And this is what I was talking about earlier, just sort of the 1,000 cuts that you incur as a marketer trying to get something out the door. And that's ultimately what we're talking here. But you can see it's pretty cool. Like we created an entire campaign with all these different assets inside of Cowork, and then we moved it over here for the execution phase, the publishing, shipping, whatever you want to call it, and then ultimately measure. We'll talk about at the end. So
Yep. And so from an activation perspective, you're able to see all the different email socials that are going out. You can go and look at each individual this is like the difference of not being able to see like, well, how's this post going to look in, uh, on like coming from the company brand, right? And being able to add images. And like, what does the link essentially look like? You also have the ability to create a public link if you want to be able to share this like with your team before something goes out. So I'll just throw this in like incognito. So like this is like someone that's not logged in. They have the ability to be able to review this content so that it's easy to kind of be able to be checked. Great for like client approvals. I know there was an agency question earlier. This is like great to be able to like, hey, we built all this stuff for you. Here's a link so that you can actually see how it's going to look. In addition to that, like, let's see, we have these are some of the emails that went out, let's say like 24 hours before. You have the ability to be able to see, what is the stats around how many emails are sent, the like details around that. And you have a full live builder in here as well. So like it's not just the plain text that's coming in. You're actually having Quotient build out the emails based off templates that you already have. So those markdown files have been like, essentially been given high fidelity design and go out and you're able to essentially see those here. Um, the let's see, we already kind of jumped through some of this. And then you also have the ability, and this is like me like clicking into essentially everything. There is like a CDP here, so you're able to see the activity around the like participants that is going through this campaign. That allows you to have like, all right, what list have they got in? What have they opened recently? A lot of that additional marketing kind of signals that Mark was talking to. And those signals are important. We want to leave some time for QA to kind of also show like what does measure look like. And so as part of those skills pack, there's also a one that we ran that pulls together all of the like, and this is from the webinar that we're in live here, where we pulled some stats early from yesterday, just to be able to see like what's the distribution of where people are coming from, what does that look like from an ICP. I've used a additional tool in order to do this, a connector. You can use Apollo or you can use Prosperio, but there's a skill that allows you to pull the list, and then from that list you can see like when people signed up for your webinar, what is like prospects, what is their really firmographic information. And you can go even further with building out the measure aspect of this to see like what's working, what's not working from running it, running
I want to make it want to just reiterate the what just happened. So like as you publish, as we put out the actual assets into the world, you want to make sure everything's tagged. That is one of the features of the Quotient platform is that we are auto tagging everything. You don't have to think about it. Everything that gets sent out, we have tagging down to the individual piece of content, to the individual person. And why that's important is that you get to do really cool stuff like this. When once that information is there, then you can go back to Cowork and you can start putting together things like this. So this is what Scott did here. He did another cooking show thing where instead of sort of watching it create this document, which would have taken another 5 to 10 minutes, he created it previously, and he pulled information from the campaign, pulled information from the analytics from Quotient, combined it with Apollo, with Prospeo, with a few other things. And honestly, you can do for for everyone on this call, you can do whatever you want. You can combine it with any information that's relevant to you. Could be customer information, it could be CRM information, right? It could be information from your platform, and it could be, of course, information on things. And then you put together this beautiful document here, or it could be a PowerPoint presentation that you create in Cowork, because of course we all have bosses and we have to show them we're doing a great job, and that you can sort of that leadership call that you might have where you got to show what's going on, how's the world, how's my marketing working, is it working, and so putting those PowerPoints together, just that alone kills you, right? That's a huge time suck. So if you can now pull all of that campaign information out down to the minute level, you can start to put together what channels are working, what content is working, and even go a step further, which you can do some really cool analysis inside of Cowork, actually Cowork or Quotient. What content's working, right? What messaging is working for who? What's leading to conversion? All those sort of wonderful questions that everybody wants answered, but takes a mountain of work to answer. You can now pull that all back into Cowork, and you can have that analysis, kind of kicking off a long job, where you have potentially Cowork pulling all those things in, that then results in a nice deck that you can then present on the Monday call with the rest of the team. So that's kind of that full cycle that we're talking about here, which I think is really important. Hopefully, I know we had some bumps in the beginning, uh, around just getting, which was, I mean, I hate to say it, I feel like I manifested it by
Yeah,
mentioning,
I think you did. I was just like, this has been working all day.
yeah,
And
it's,
first time that it hadn't worked.
so yeah, that's unfortunate. But that's exactly what happened. So I think that only took 5 to 10 minutes out, but hopefully you can kind of see what does this look like really to do full cycle. Is that now with connectors, with you have a project set up. That project is going to be your company, right? It's going to be all the details of the company, all where all the skills and all of the background and the history is going to sit inside of Cowork under that project, right? And then now you can come into that project, create a new session for that next campaign. Right? What's that next campaign? I don't know. Maybe it's just an idea. Maybe you want to do some research. Maybe there's some a long, sort of a long form piece of content that you want to create that then creates sub campaigns off of that. That's all very easy to do here because you've got that history, you've got those skills already plugged in, you've got the details about your writing style, the company, the ICP, the background, all of it's there. And then of course you can start to create. You can create here going forward, which is pretty neat. Um, and I think ultimately, this is that cycle. This is an operational layer, which if anyone's put out a real campaign, I know we did a cooking show, but man, the cooking show was you waiting 10 minutes, not you spending 2 days wrestling with 10 different systems,
Yeah.
right? And cut and pasting everything over and then making sure the images are there. And then some of the things we didn't get to show is that, at least in Quotient, this is a little promo for Quotient, is that we also have image models, the top image models integrated in there. So if you're looking at a LinkedIn post and you want to add some color to it, you just say, hey, can you generate an image based on this post? Does generates the image, adds to it, and then you've got that beautiful thing, that beautiful post that you know exactly how it's going to go out the door, and then kind of go from there. And then once you execute the campaign, bring it back into Cowork, do your analysis, report to other people inside the company. It's pretty cool stuff. So
Yep. And I know we went through a lot today, but there's if anyone scans this QR code, and we'll send it out as part of a link too. If offering like 30 minutes to hop on a call to answer any questions, help you set up tools, just kind of little marketing engineer for around a use case that you might have. And so feel free to kind of take advantage of that. Do you plan on adding analytics to Quotient? We do have a question here. I know we're able to stay a little bit over. I know we had to speed through it there at the end, but we're definitely taking questions.
Yes. So we've always had some level of analytics inside of Quotient this entire time. Email analytics has been there since day one. We have a massive analytics release that's coming out. Actually, it's in beta right now. We have some customers who are beginning to beta the analytics feature. We really leveled it up in a huge way. So as I was talking about sort of how we're tagging everything under the covers, that's in essence what analytics is. So Michael, if you want to be part of the the beta, let me know. Happy to turn that on in your account. I'm sure Max, our CTO, who's running the beta with our customers right now, would love to hear your feedback and get your take on things.
I know we ripped through this. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions out there that we might have missed. Can you send? Yes, we will follow up on the instructions. What's a skill folder about? Skills and skill folder and skills are a little bit different. I think we covered that. Mark, was there any other questions that you see on your end?
No, most of them were just initially some of the regarding the some of the trouble with the connectivity.
Yep.
And then so those are all done. And so I don't see any other questions around that.
And we are going to be doing some more of these. So if there are other things that people are interested in learning about, whether that's Codex or I know there's a lot of people talking about Grok bots, or we want to go a little bit deeper on, let's say, even artifacts. We didn't really touch on artifacts at all. And there's a lot to kind of like dig into here. But we tried getting through as quickly as possible in under an hour with a little bit of a hiccup there.
But we got some plans, just so you know, for anyone who's still on the call. Our next one will most likely be Claude Design for marketing, which is pretty awesome. So I hope we'll send out notification once we have that scan and once we have that webinar scheduled. It is really cool. That workflow is amazing because now you can start to incorporate on brand font, like with the correct font and everything, ready to go. And you just create those assets, you put them, attach them with the email, pass them all to Quotient. Quotient assembles everything in, proper email HTML with tags and everything, and it's ready to go out the door. It is smooth and it is very nice. So
yeah, Claude Design's I'm a big fan. Can burn through some tokens on that one though.
Yeah, it's a little token heavy, but
it's great, especially the ability to sync that stuff too now into your project. So. Well, we'll save that for our next session, but appreciate everyone coming out. We will follow up with a recording in case anyone is wondering about that. There'll be a recording. There will be skills. I'll make sure to include some of the instructions. And if anyone wants to connect for 30 minutes, talk through some use cases, please feel free to schedule that as well. All right. Thanks, y'all.
thanks everybody.